Greetings all, and welcome to Esoteric Babble. Today we begin a series focusing on how to apply the teachings of the Buddha. And we begin appropriately enough with what practice do we start with first? Out of this vast array of teachings, where do we begin? And I think, hands down, we should start with the practice of Mettā. Now, Mettā is a Pali word. In English, we tend to think of that or translate it as loving kindness. And loving kindness is just what it sounds like. We extend loving kindness to ourselves and to every sentient being in the universe without exception, into any universe that might exist, into the highest of heavens, into the deepest, darkest hell. Every being, we want them to be safe, happy, secure. Now, loving kindness, Mettā, is known as a Brahma Vihara, or a divine way of living. It's actually the first of 4 Brahma Viharas, the other 3 being compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity or inclusiveness. And so I bring this up because when I talk about Mettā, or you hear other people talk about Mettā, they aren't, or I am not, trying to exclude the other 3 Brahma Viharas. And you can think about this as when we have loving kindness for all beings and it encounters suffering, it becomes compassion. When we have loving kindness and it encounters a happy or successful being, it becomes sympathetic joy. And when we have loving kindness that maybe encounters a villainous, evil person, it is still loving kindness. We do not exclude that person. That is what we mean by these 4 Brahma Viharas. And that's why we can use Mettā as a way to kind of capture all 4 of those. So why do we start with Mettā? What are its benefits? I think the main benefit is that, I think there are a couple, 2. One is that it just makes a better society. If we're all kind of practicing this, if we're all sort of thoughtful of other people and realizing that it's a struggle to exist, and that we could help each other out, you can see that right away this makes the world a better place. It also, when we apply it, we start to overcome that 3 or 4-year-old little child in us that wants things a certain way, that has pettinesses and jealousies and just craves things, craves power, craves things and attention. And that starts to dissolve. And that's another very good benefit of Mettā. One reason that it's good is because in, I think, every spiritual tradition, and not only spiritual traditions, and people who admonish us to practice good ethical lives, we don't want to keep ourselves at the center of the universe, but particularly we don't want to have erroneous beliefs about ourselves. And Mettā will help us overcome these beliefs. And a lot of the Buddha's teachings are geared towards helping us overcome our beliefs, and actually pretty much all beliefs. In Buddhism, we want to, or in the Buddha's teachings, we are sort of admonished, I'll use that word again, to experience things for ourselves, to see things with our own eyes. Our beliefs can help us get started. We can have confidence, just like we could have confidence in an exercise regime, but we have to experience it. We have to, if we have belief about an exercise regime, if I believe running is good for me, but I don't ever practice it, I won't experience the benefits from running. And likewise, if I have belief in the Buddha, or in that his teachings are, have benefit, I won't get those benefits if I don't actually put put them into practice. So I think that that's where Mettā can help, because we will start to, it's a very good way to put into practice. It's a good foundation that will allow us to put the other teachings of the Buddha into practice. Now, another way to think about Mettā is that the Buddha's teachings are often grouped into three categories of sila, which is ethics, samadhi, which is kind of meditation, and paññā, or wisdom. And Mettā will really help us deepen our ethics, our ethical outlook, our ethical behavior. We might think that we are perfectly good ethical actors in the world, but I think that we have to constantly scrutinize and interrogate our ethical behavior. And this is good because ultimately, when we deepen our ethical practice and when we deepen our samadhi, when we deepen our meditation, it's going to issue forth in a deeper wisdom. And the goal of the Buddha's teachings is really to help us deepen our wisdom so that we can overcome our ignorance of the way things are. So here's just a little bit of a rant on ethics and why I think, or how it would be possible for us to interrogate our ethics and possibly create a better world, a better place for all of us to live. So when we, in our hyper-capitalist society, go to buy things, it's not often clear, and actually it's not really ever clear. It's not like when we go to buy a product that alongside the price, that all the suffering that was incurred in producing that product or getting it into our hands is listed. We don't see that. We have no idea. It's sort of hidden from us. And it's not sort of hidden. It's just not, it's not visible. So for us to be good ethical actors, for us to, on the one hand, hope that all living beings are safe, happy, secure, free from oppression and pain, it wouldn't make sense, obviously, for us to somehow participate in a system that, at its foundation required child labor or something like that. It probably would not even allow us to participate in a system that, at its foundation, required that billions and billions of animals be slaughtered and be raised in absolute hellish conditions. It's hard to reconcile how we can hope for the safety and welfare and happiness of all beings when we are participating in a system that promotes those conditions. And what I was saying earlier, that would even apply to the planet. We cannot just sort of destroy the planet that we live on if we are trying to promote happiness and welfare for all beings. And I want to say one final thing here too, and I think in the West, we tend to get bogged down in discussions of how things might actually just be selfish. Like if I desire to go to heaven, am I really, and good actions get me there, are my good actions really good or something? Maybe they're just really selfish. With the Buddha's teachings, we don't really come across that sort of analysis. The Buddha actually asks us to question our thoughts, our speech, our actions, and see whether they're kusala, wholesome, or akusala, unwholesome. And with wholesome, we might think wholesome, helpful, skillful, or the unwholesome, unhelpful, unskillful. I think it's pretty plain to me that it is selfish. If I want to promote a better world, I benefit from that. I don't happen to think there's anything wrong with that, but I also don't even think it's a discussion worth getting into. I just think that we can analyze our motives in this light. Now, there are probably people who would disagree, and I would look forward to reading some comments to the contrary. And so that kind of brings us to the conclusion of this first episode. I'm interested in what you all have to say and what you think about this, dear listener. Peace.